Welcome back one and all to our second edition ever of Got Your Backer for July 2020. My name is Matt. Thank you for joining me here on HP Gaming's GameLINK as we take you through some of the projects we're backing on Kickstarter for July 2020. For those of you joining us for the first time, this is a bit of an episodic series that we've started to do based on all things Kickstarter, a bit of gaming industry news, what's coming out, what's being backed, some project updates on stuff that we've already backed in the past, and what you can expect to hit the tables and obviously feature on our YouTube channel in times to come. Now, for those of you who may be watching this and going, hang on, what does it mean July? It's actually August. Well, that's because our Patreons and our supporters online get to see the videos first when they come out, and it's true to form. So the timeline here that I'm talking about in terms of Kickstarter deadlines might have already expired, but most projects do offer what they call a late pledge, so you will probably still be able to get in on those projects. Look, without further ado, folks, we're going to talk about some of the different pieces we've backed recently with some project updates. So let's get into the thick of it. We're going to take you through some of our project updates for July 2020. Okay, so first up on our list today is something I'm very excited about. I mean, I'm excited about all the games, as you can tell, but this one in particular is something that I'm very, very excited to get to the table. It is Arcane Wonders Foundations of Rome. Now, we have backed at the Emperor Pledge level because, hey, if you want to take on Rome, why not take all of it? And this allows for 2 to 4 players usually, but we've got a 5th player expansion along with the Monuments expansion as well. Now, if you don't know what Foundations of Rome is, it is effectively a city building simulation game. If every player has their own player board full of mini buildings, and I mean minis. I'm talking like there's like 96 something miniatures in this game, and that's like whatever that is per player, 24 or something, 23 per player. That's not including the additional content with the add-ons as well. And you'll take your turn either collecting tribute from Romulus, using your money to buy plots of land and block them out from the other players, and then obviously constructing buildings on those plots of land to make sure you ensure yourself the biggest bonuses while blocking your opponents as well. So lots of deep strategy within what is a beautifully crafted game, and that's on target, I believe. Due to COVID, they've had a few delays, but it looks like they're on target to make their delivery deadline. So I think we'll be expecting that one in January 2021, and should it arrive on time, it's going to see us through some hard times ahead as we move through what has been a particularly difficult 2020 for everybody, I can imagine. But that's Foundations of Rome. Looking forward to seeing that hitting the table very, very soon. Next up, set amid the action-packed 80s, this is a buddy cop kind of board game based on the action films of the 80s like Beverly Hills Cop, etc. This is Code 3 by Black Key Games. It plays 2 to 4 players and basically pits yourself and the rest of the players lurking the streets of the city, trying to solve crime, take down those crime bosses any way you can. Now, what's unique about this experience is that the board is modular and can be rebuilt any way you like during the course of your plays, but you'll choose one detective and another police officer. So you'll choose 2 from the core selection, and you'll actually shuffle those decks together to make your own unique buddy cop duo. Now, that duo will change, obviously, depending on which police officers you choose. Along with that, you'll also get to choose a different police chief per game, so that's going to change up your replayability and add for a ton of customization as well, which I really like. Additionally, they've also unlocked an additional scenario or additional set of Yakuza bosses that you can add into the game as well in your different scenarios. Now, with Code 3, Black Key Games have offered up, they have been hit pretty hard by COVID-19. That's no surprise there, considering the game was meant to hit our shores here in May 2020. Obviously, that hasn't happened. They have been pushed back quite a bit to an October release date, but all things considered, that's actually not quite a delay. All things considered, it could be a lot worse. So you can expect that when it does hit our shores, we'll be breaking out a bit of Axel F and chasing down those crime bosses any way we can. It's going to be amazing. Look out for that in October. All right, on our next game that we're going to talk about. Now, first published in 1938 by John W. Campbell Jr., Who Goes There was one of the first massive science fiction stories of its time, and is arguably one of the best science fiction stories ever created. And it's no surprise that the film that has been inspired by it, John Carpenter's The Thing, remains one of the greatest science fiction horror films of all time to date. It even spawned a sequel, obviously, for those of you who aren't aware. But what's great about The Thing and Who Goes There is it has spawned a beautiful board game replication or experience, funnily enough, called Who Goes There. Now, we're talking about the backing of the Who Goes There second edition by, I think it's Certifiable Studios, sorry. And this is a game that plays 2 to 4 players but can be expanded to 6, and really gets into the guts of what it might be like to be in Antarctica as an explorer when people that you're with may or may not be who they seem. So everyone starts off as human in the game, but obviously in order to complete the objectives to try and survive, you'll need to venture outdoors from the safety of your bunker, so to speak. And of course, doing so means that yes, you can gather the resources you need to win, but it also puts you at risk of being in contact with the thing. So that means when you come back inside, you may or may not be who you say you are, and that's when the tension starts to ramp up as the game goes on. The deluxe version of the game that we have backed comes with a few extra add-ons, extra survivors and things, enough to play with 6 players, along with these little clickers that test your identity as to whether you are in fact who you say you are. And I think the beauty of this game lies in the fact that even though there is a trader mechanic, there may not be in each game. So that sort of second guessing of yourselves and each other as the gameplay goes on is something we're really excited to see. Those of you familiar with the film will understand how it sort of works and how it sort of plays out. So I'm not going to go through all the characters for you, but we are excited to see how that goes. Now, these guys are still on target to make their March 2021 deadline, even though they've been affected by the pandemic, as everyone has. So yeah, we look forward to seeing that when it comes to the table, and I'm sure that we'll get an unboxing for you along with the playthrough, hopefully, for that as well. Okay, something now that we've come across that's a little bit different. In our last episode, we found something called Pitch and Plaques, which was very, very different and has since, as of this recording, been successfully funded. So very excited to get that to the table in November, December. But this one here is another one that we didn't even expect to find, the MATCHBOX Collection. Now, the MATCHBOX Collection by THUNDERGRYPH Games is not just one game, it's actually 5 games that are set up in these little mini boxes, and they're set up in a little carry-all case that you can gather around with you. The deluxe edition comes with a couple of upgraded components, including some playmats for each of the games as well. Now, the 5 games, they do vary in style. Space Lunch is one that I'm interested to get to the table. Some of them are only for 2 players, so which great for couples. Some of them, in fact, I think one game, Ennio, is actually only for one, or Edo, I think it's called. Edo is only for 1 player, so solo gameplay. There's also a couple of games that play up to 4. So a bit of variety across the board. There's something for the gamer within us all, or for every style of gamer, I should say. But the MATCHBOX Collection, I think it's still taking late pledges. So if you want to get in on it and have a look at it, it's definitely worth a look. It's something very unique, and I think the fact that you've got the 5 different plays, or 5 different games, I should say, is actually really quite wonderful, and the value for money there is top notch. Production quality looks fantastic as well. They are still on target despite everything else to get it to us, I think, in October. So hopefully we'll be seeing that hitting our shores very, very soon. Very excited to get that one to the table. A good casual game experience, I think, all around. It's definitely something worth taking a look at, and that's the MATCHBOX Collection from THUNDERGRYPH Games. The last one we're going to talk about with updates for July 2020 is ROCKETMEN by PHALANX Games and designed by the legendary Martin Wallace. Now, if you don't know who Martin Wallace is, where have you been? He's the man behind things like Brass, things like Australia, which was, I think, delivered last year. The Kickstarter campaign was late 2018. Beautiful games all around. This one is a deck builder from Martin Wallace, which obviously piques my interest, as you know. ROCKETMEN is literally a space race where 2 to 4 players can basically try and build their plans, build their rockets, and shoot for the moon, quite literally. The objective of the game is to try and complete as many objectives as possible, get as far into space as you can before the other players. But the trick about this with the deck builder, something a bit different, is that the cards you acquire need to be used and committed to your projects to help you launch into space. So that awesome card you acquired, which is going to help you buy a lot more cards later on, may not be in your deck while it's committed to the task. So as you commit cards to your projects, they actually step out of your deck as a temporary part of the gameplay. So you have to then manage not just your deck building, but also your project management, what cards you've got in there. Do you have something else to replace them while you temporarily have them out of your deck? And there's a bit of strategy as well, because if you are building a project, that's going to indicate to the other players that they might try and sneak in and take a project, launch a project before you. And obviously how far you go, the risk versus reward element is quite exciting too. So as component wise, we've upgraded to get a couple of extra miniatures and things as well that we can use for the board. It looks fantastic. It's a deck builder, so I'm going to love it. If you're a fan of deck builders, it's worth having a look. There is no late pledge manager for this one. It has closed, so you'll have to wait for retail to see if it comes to retail. I know Australia did. Brass obviously is around on a regular basis, so we'll be sure to once we get a couple of playthroughs in, probably stock that as well at some stage on hpgaming.com.au. But you may not be able to see that on the store's shelves until sort of mid-2021 at this stage. Obviously, it depends on and how well it goes in terms of the pandemic. But that is ROCKETMEN by PHALANX Games, and we're looking forward to seeing that hitting the table. I'm very excited because it's a deck builder, and so we'll see that hitting the tables very, very soon. And there you have it. That's our updates for July 2020. Now we're going to talk about some of the freshly backed items we've looked at over the last month and to see if we can help pique your interest and tease you with a few of the things that are out there and about in the world of Kickstarter. First up on our list is a very freshly backed game that is still trying to accrue funds. There's still a couple of days to get on board with this one as of this recording, and that is Theatre in a Box by Theatre in a Box Games. Now, this is an Aussie company that have produced a game for all the theatre nerds out there, one of which I am. And this is a game that is a little bit trivia, a little bit, think Cranium, crossed with musicals and theatre terms and everything else as well. Having said that, it is not just for the theatre people. It's basically for all players. There are a couple of add-on packs you can get that are for a little bit more adult-themed content. But if you've ever gone to the theatre to see it, whether it's amateur, whether it's professional, you'll understand where this game's going. You move your playing piece through the audience up onto the stage. First one to the stage, obviously, is the winner. It can be played as a team game as well as individually, and I think it plays for 2 to 5 players. Obviously, with teams, you can have as many as you like. And there's a couple of different card sets as well. So we've backed at the VIP level, which gets us a couple extra core sets of cards to expand the game out. Now, this project is an Australian project, so that's why we've gotten behind it. It will only be manufactured and will only hit the tables if it goes ahead to production, if it's successfully funded. So there's still about 10 or so days to get in on the project. There's a link in the description. I do highly recommend that you check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be something that will be fun for all the family as well. And it's an Australian-backed project, so get behind them, support our own, and hopefully they'll be able to see it hitting our game tables just in time for Christmas. That's Theatre in a Box, and yeah, highly recommend you check that one out. Okay, now here's one that's really exciting that throws back to my 80s childhood. There was a game many years ago, and this is pitted 2 sets of families against one another in a fantasy world that had lots of different add-on components. It was a big 3D dynamic. It was playable on the table. It was playable on the floor. It was playable on the kitchen bench. And it was one of these games where you just could not get enough of it, even though it was ridiculously messy, ridiculously loud, ridiculously fun. Great for children of all ages and the big children that have a child at heart. Lots of elastic bands I went through growing up with this, and there is still a core set in my mum and dad's house as of this recording, and I may have to grab it out. But this is a game called Catapult Kingdoms. This is by Vesuvius Media, I should say. Excuse my tongue slip there. And it is a throwback to crossbows and catapults. So Catapult Kingdoms is a new iteration, I guess, of a same sort of common theme. It is originally for 2 players, but you can expand it out, and it's going to have volcano add-ons and things as well. You need to pull back the things and throw tokens and things everywhere else as well, throw boulders, and obviously if you knock down your opponent's men before they knock down yours, you win the game. Crossbows and Catapults meets the 21st century. Very, very excited to see how this goes, and we can expect that hitting our tables, I think, January 2021. So we'll let you know how that goes. Again, if it's funded, and there is still time on that campaign, so check it out. Catapult Kingdoms, thumbs up from me. The next game I want to talk to you about is a game called Mantis Falls. This is by Distant Rabbit Studios, and this is a game that is just for 2 to 3 players. That's it. No more, no less. Now, we've all sat around the table before, the pandemic thing. We've all sat around the table and played these social deduction games like Resistance, Secret Hitler, all that sort of stuff. But what if you could have that experience, still get the same feeling of, oh, do I trust them, do I not trust them, but have just 2 or 3 players at the table? What if it was a couple? It was you and your wife sitting across from each other playing a game and you're wondering, hang on, can I trust them? Now, Mantis Falls is a game that's sort of set in a pseudo-1930s style film noir genre, and it's played out with a series of cards and playmats and boards, and as the secret identities are dealt, you never 100% sure whether the person that's playing opposite you is in fact helping you or an assassin sent to kill you. You just don't know. The beauty of the game lies in the simplicity of the storytelling elements that are on the table. And you use those storytelling elements to bring about an end to the story, whether that be an escape, where you all escape from Mantis Falls together, or you don't. So during the course of the game, you play cards to move around the board. You get allies that help you, obviously, work out identities and things like that as well. But the beauty of it is that when you're dealing out the secret identities, there is the option, how do I say it? When you're dealing out the identity cards, there's more cards than there are players. So you could have a game where no one is working against you, but you won't know until the final moment of the game. And that is the beauty of this one. Mantis Falls is still currently on Kickstarter at the moment. I think it's about 12 days left to go with the campaign as of this recording. I highly recommend you check it out. It is steeped in drama and theme, and it's one of those games that you're going to be talking about for a long time to come. Mantis Falls, check it out. It's going to be amazing. Okay. Now we're coming to something I am super, super, super pumped for. When it was announced before it even launched on Kickstarter, I had to have it. I've shared it around a little bit, so some of you may already know what I'm talking about. I watched Dice Tower's review on it as well, an interview with the lead designer. This is, of course, Ascension Tactics. Now, this is a deck building game that's also a miniatures game, that's also a tactical strategic combat game. So think Warhammer with the deck building mechanic, and you'll have yourself an absolute thrill of a time. Now, as of this recording, the stretch goals have gone through the roof. They've got a faction campaign where you can support your Enlightened, your Earthbound, your Mechana or your Void faction. And as the faction scores rank up, they're adding in more content to the game. The Kickstarter exclusive miniatures for this game are something to behold. They are fantastic. There is even a sculpt of Samael, the villain from the original Ascension game. They're even producing a 10th anniversary Ascension core set, which you can get if you'd like. We haven't backed that, but it's one of those things. Ascension Tactics is a game where you'll be able to acquire cards from your deck building mechanics that then are able to control the miniatures on the board to send them in to attack other heroes until there is just one of you standing. It's one of these games that I can see having massive, massive, massive strategic connotations, but also the replayability of it, because you might play as one particular faction, say the Voids, but then you might play totally different when you play the Lifebound heroes. So I love exploring the different factions, and I do obviously try and mix and match where possible when I play Ascension. But Ascension Tactics, I think, is going to present a totally different strategic style that's required to play the game and play it well. But I do like the learning curve of this as well. So playing through Ascension Tactics is going to be a lot of fun to learn the different cards, learn the mechanics. Now, there are some cards from the original Ascension set they've adapted for Ascension Tactics, which intrigues me as well as to how that's going to translate. But with extensive playtesting, Stoneblade Entertainment's going to knock this out of the park. It hasn't even been built yet, but I know it's going to be amazing. This one I think is going to be around till the start of August, so you can still get in on Ascension Tactics. Even if you're not a fan of deck building games, the minis in this game is going to be amazing. You can also get, I think as part of the campaign, the free standees. So if you don't like the minis, you can get little cardboard standee characters as well that you can use. And I think that's just as an option is going to be fantastic. It's going to give you doubles effectively of all the characters, which is brilliant. Ascension Tactics, I think it's not expected till next year. It's like August 2021. So it's still 13 months away before it even hits the tables, let alone ships and delivers and all the rest of it. So still a while off. But the excitement is building. The battle is going to be fantastic when it finally hits the table, and it's going to be something we'll be following along in terms of our project updates down the track. Ascension Tactics by Stoneblade Entertainment. Check it out. It is going to be amazing. Okay, on to our last but definitely not least game that we freshly backed over July 2020. And this is one that, another one I stumbled across, I didn't expect to find on Kickstarter. It's a game that appeals to my interest thematically and also because of the style. It appeals to my interest for another sole reason that I'm going to be able to play it with my kids for a long time to come, and it's going to be something that's very kid-friendly as well. This is a game called The Shivers. Now, if you don't know what The Shivers is, if you've seen The Shivers, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about and why I like it and appeals to me. The Shivers is a game that is played on a board that is effectively a pop-up book. So if you can imagine the book is sitting like this, and then at the start of the game, when you read out the scenario, you then assemble a pop-up game board made of 3 or 4 different modular pieces that changes as you move from scenario to scenario. Now, the beautiful thing about this is rather than just have one scene that pops up in front of you, they've actually got an insert that slides into each of the scenario pieces. And as you move through the scenarios, you take that card out and rotate it, giving you a whole new design of secrets to uncover. Inside the scenarios, there's doors that open and close. There's stained glass window that may or may not have things behind it that moves, things that you can inspect, things that are so minute and so minuscule to the naked eye. They've actually included a magnifying glass in the game box so you can get in close to have a look at these clues. You move your character pieces throughout the different scenarios, trying to find the clues and solve the mystery at hand. It looks absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The quality looks absolutely outstanding. There is a core base set, and there's obviously a deluxe version which adds on extra components and extra rooms and things along with extra mysteries to solve. There's a dry erase board that you can use to track down any items you pick up, but it only has so many slots. So if you run out of space on that board for items, you actually have to remove some of the items in order to add new ones that you may or may not need. A lot of red herrings in this as well. It's aimed at 7 and up, so I'm excited to see how Charlotte plays this one when it gets to the table. But The Shivers is one of those games that's very, very family friendly, but is able to be played by those who want a bit of a challenge as well. Apart from the actual sheer beauty of the craftsmanship of these standees or these pop-up scenarios as well, or pop-up scenery, if you don't do anything else because of this video, please take the time to click the link in the description below for The Shivers and check it out. It's definitely worth a look. It's a little bit cartoon, gothic, haunted house, mystery genre, but it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful craftsmanship, and you'll see what I mean. As soon as you look through the campaign details, you'll just be in awe of how it's all been put together. And if you like games in general, I think you're really going to love this one. It's really going to be something special and something very, very, very unique. The Shivers by Pop Fiction Games. Check it out on Kickstarter. Definitely worth a look. And that is pretty much it for July 2020, folks. I've talked about a few games here. If there's something that I've missed, by all means, pop it in the comments below. Thank you for getting this far, for joining us again on another journey through and for your foray into what is the world of Kickstarter. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button so you can stay in touch with all the bits and pieces that we do here at HP Gaming and GameLINK. And also for those of you who are watching who are patrons or our subscribers, we really do appreciate your support. Thank you very much for your continued pledges. I hope you're enjoying your gamer points that we've started offering you as well, and you can use those for obviously some wonderful goodies too. If you are not yet a patron and you're watching this in August and are wondering what the hell this guy's talking about, jump on board our Patreon at the address you see on your screen, and you'll be able to get in touch and get these videos when they go public, well and truly about a month and a half before everybody else. So that's pretty awesome too. Earn extra gamer points, as I talked about, get heaps of rewards and things too. Check us out, hpgaming.com.au, if you're looking for new games and products to help get you through this pandemic. If you have any questions or any items that we haven't stocked or any projects that you'd like to talk to us about to get in on and join in on our Kickstarter backing, you can hit us up at orders@hpgaming.com.au as well. Once again, my name is Matt. Thanks very much for joining me in this little foray into Kickstarter. This has been Got You Backer for July 2020, and we'll see you in August very, very soon. Bye for now.